Where's the slide view? That's not the slide view. That's the
I'm trying to share the screen.
Let's see if it works.
Ryan, you're sharing your screen. You just need to start the slideshow.
Yeah. Can you see the slides?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Thank you.
Did Ann say where she was?
Welcome to the Southeast Beekeepers Club. People don't know me. I'm Veronica, I'm the vice president. Ms. Ann is ill this evening, so she's on Zoom though. So I want to introduce you to our board. So Ann is our president. I'm the vice president, and Tony, he's right up front, he's our treasurer. Then we have Mike Hadley here tonight. I don't see Mike. He is our secretary. And then at large board members, we have Vance, which I think Dan's traveling. Tim, there's Tim. And also Kenny Bowler. Hi, Kenny. So before we get started, do we have any newbies? I know we have Margaret. Mike, want to stand up and tell us where you're from, and do you have any bees yet?
No bees. I've got a empty hive in the garage. I live out in Elbert, pretty much right next to Baker.
Great.
Wife and I have been interested for a couple of years, and just kind of checking this out for some.
Wonderful. Great. Well, welcome. Do we have anyone else new this evening first time? Hi, stand up and tell us where you're from.
It's not over. North of Elizabeth.
Okay.
And I wanted to be home.
Oh, well, wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I'm glad you're here. That's great. We'll get you started. Get you the training this year so we can start next year. Perfect.
East Colorado represented.
That's right. That's right. Is there anyone else new to next year's time? All righty. Let's see. Do we just push the space button? Ah, yay. So our next apiary event is coming up, and I'm standing in front of the slide. Sorry about that. I'm going to stand on this side. So excuse me, October 21st at noon. I missed it.
No, I don't. I'll leave it. I was going to try to move out.
All right. So it's October 21st at noon. Now, where we're located, we do have a safety issue, so make sure you're there early so that you don't get locked out of the gates. You need to be there about 11:45. We'll be talking about getting the girls ready for winter. So I don't know, mite treatments, possibly wrapping.
Anything else?
Right. The 21st.
Oh,
It's covered on the.
I know. But is there a way to reduce? All right. Let's see the upcoming events. Dr. Jay Evans will be talking on October 19th. I'm sure our dates are right here. 6:30. It's an event that the Northern Beekeepers has put together to bring Dr. Jay in. And if you would like to go in person, it is in Longmont, or Loveland, excuse me, at the Ranch Events Complex. So it's a cool place if you've never been there, but it is a long drive from here. So there will be a Zoom link that we'll be sending out to all of our paid members, probably 2 or 3 days before the event. So keep that in mind. Yay!
Even think first.
There we go.
That's the, six-
Huh?
isn't?
No, that's the 19th. What's going on the 16th, Brian? Let's see. So, Dr. J is with the USDB Research Laboratory, so it should be a pretty interesting talk. He always does a great presentation. So if you got a chance, I highly recommend signing into the Zoom that day. And our other upcoming events, I think that's Ann's doggy. So we have our, yeah. So we have our CSBA winter meeting coming up on November 11th. Registration is now open. It's $35. It includes donuts, that type of thing for breakfast, and then also lunch. So you want to make sure you register. I think you have until the end of the month to do that. Excuse me. They're also doing a great honey contest. The instructions or information on that, let's put that was out on their website. Then the American Beekeepers annual conference is coming up in January, the 9th to the 13th. I am the one of the Colorado delegates for the American Beekeeper Federation. So for that, there's 2 things. If you if you're not currently a member and you sign up with me, you get a great tool. I know, it's very cool. But there's some save the dates out there. The event's going to be great. They're doing tracks this year. So there'll be a track for commercial, for sideliners, for hobbyists. And then on Friday, there'll be an all-day track for newbies. So different things will be great. On Saturday, they are doing a tour to one of the bee labs that's right there. So it's a great opportunity to get to see that, which is unusual. Extra events they're doing is House of Blues one night. So it should be a lot of fun. So I would highly recommend it. It's always a great conference. Excuse me. Oh, and we just got breaking news. Literally when I pulled from parking lot, I saw this. The Boulder County Beekeepers Association is inviting all covered bee cubs to a presentation with Dr. Samuel Ramsey. It's on November 1st, tracking Tropii expedition through Asia. So he has been tracking the newest mite that is we don't want in the US ever. So it's Tropilapis mite, I can never pronounce it right. So it's a pending threat. So he is doing great research, trying to figure out how it's different than our current situation. You're welcome to go out there. It's going to be great. The Boulder, the Hampton Inn, but they're also going to be sending out a Zoom link for that as well. And it's free. They do recommend or suggest you give a donation to the Ramsey Research Foundation. So to help him continue his work he's doing. Excuse me.
Would you post that?
Mm-hmm.
Will you post that?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll include it in tonight's notes.
This is November what?
First.
Yes, November 1st.
Not the 16th.
Not the 16th. Or the 13th. So this is great that they're being able to offer that. If you never heard Dr. Ramsey speak, he is funny. He talks to a level that we understand what he's talking about. You get so many researchers, they're talking, what are you doing? So he talks down, he gets you to a point where you totally understand it and get excited about what he's doing. So I would highly recommend that. Let's see, what else do we have going on? Switch my slide. Maybe they'll figure out how all this works. So we are beekeeping in October. What are we doing this month? We are mite counting and treatments as needed. We're prepping for winter. You know, it's still nice and warm, but this week was chilly. So we have to look at our different things, like thinking about what do we want to do. We'll be talking about some different ideas here shortly. Are we feeding this time of year? You know, as I go back and forth. Like, my pies are full, but you don't want them to go through all that honey either. So it's you have to think what's going to be best for you. What else are we doing this year? What do you guys think? Yeah.
I
I think on this last batch, I just switched to 2-to-1 syrup. So I guess it's that time. I don't know if I was late or if I'm on time on that. I couldn't remember, but I was like, oh, it's October, 2-to-1, 2-to-1. Because it hasn't been that cold. I think it's a little bit chilly at night, but, are y'all, has everyone switched to 2-to-1 now for any feeding that's needed, or are you still on 1-to-1 stuff?
I still have pretty good root patterns in all the hives I'm looking at, so. I don't want them to get over, I want them to make as many bees as possible.
Yeah.
So actually kind of intermittent on feeding, even at 1-to-1, because I don't want them to overload the hives. I have there's plenty of, so it's not like that, it's just kind of playing with the margins. I think you're right, though. I just made some sort tonight, I'll make it next time I do it. And then because it's done, right? I mean, we're looking at small softball size patterns. In 2 or 3 frames.
Scott and I were talking this week, and he reminded me of something from Club Aviary. It's like, if you put that hive and it's really heavy, go in and make sure that you're not taking their last space for those last remaining roots. So, because I kept thinking, I was in that mindset of feed, and Scott was like, whoa, Nelly, and
So I mean,
I think that was a great point, though, just make sure that we don't.
my house is looking pretty easy. And a quarter of the day will fill up your hive in 2 weeks, a week and a half. There's already plenty of stores. So now we're looking at like my end frames. I just want a little more time and then make bees. It's not much time. I mean, at the end of next week, or the week after, that'll almost shut down. But there's still eggs and larvae on these frames.
So, a lot of my hives near my house, they've been bringing nectar in, and they kind of feed out for them in the budget, and they don't touch it. They had so much coming in, and they had so much money that today I just trying to make sure the water on them just because they have so much money in there, it's not even funny. Now the hives at my house, they're robbing. I got some community feeder out, and they're all over. And so I started feeding them a week ago. But I want to make sure that they don't get honey found because you don't want them to not have a place to include the lake. Even though the end of October, you probably have.
So, I mean, the argument about 2-to-1 versus 1-to-1 is 2-to-1 is automatically goes to honey. They don't have to work very hard to make it.
That would be people who want to farm.
Sorry, I mean, really, you're eating them. 2-to-1 is just maybe better. Make sure there's water. You might keep water available in the backyard. Standing room only on my farm. Which is a lot of water.
So I don't know if anybody else has got this, but I tried community feeding, but it attracted more yellow chickens.
So it keeps them away from your eyes.
How you feed.
Basically in the open.
Okay, the open feeding.
Yeah, but that more out, so I'm actually.
If you put it out in the open and yellow jacks still there, that's okay, but not robbing your hive. That's the way I look at it. I got my washing traps out, but I don't care if they don't get them in the feeder, they're leaving my hive alone.
It's just.
Lost feed, lost crap out there.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna go extinct. Honestly, that hasn't been out.
Right. Alrighty. So it's October. By our bylaws, we vote for a new board. We do this every October. The term is January 1 through December 31st. The officers or directors, we serve no more than 2 consecutive terms in any single position. Each membership is entitled to 1 vote. So if you have a family membership, you're allowed 1 vote, not a vote per person, just 1 vote that way. So before I show you our nominations, is there any other additional nominations from the floor? Yeah, you sure? All right.
Yeah.
All right, so Anne has agreed to step back in as president. If, excuse me, sorry, my voice again. So all in favor, say aye. All in, is there any nays? Great. I have, I agree to be your vice president for another year, if you agree to that. So all in favor, say aye. Anyone, any opposing, any nays? Great. So our treasurer, Janice Cobb. Is Janice here tonight? Janice is not here tonight.
She's not. That's right.
Janice has agreed to run for treasurer, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Just make sure you send me else.
Mike has agreed to be our secretary. Mike, let's stand up and. So all in favor say aye. Opposed? And then members at large, we have 3. So Mark Pomeray, Howard Kramer, and Christy Ledgerwood have all agreed. So for Mark, all in favor say aye. Aye. You opposed? For Howard, Howard is back here. I'm sorry, Howard. Mark, stand up. I'm sorry. I didn't have you stand up. Howard is back here. This is Christy. So all in favor, Howard, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great. And then for Christy, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great. We have our new board. Now we still need a couple positions. We still need someone to be our equipment manager. Tom has been our equipment manager, I think, since the beginning, and he would like to retire. So we need someone who can store their equipment. It'd be great if someone's fairly central, so it'd be easier for everyone to get to that person. Be able to maintain a record and who's checked out the equipment, make sure it's coming back and clean and return standards. And then also advising the board if any equipment needs or any repairs or stuff needed. So I'll put that out there. Good luck. Everyone who's interested, please come talk to us. We would like to get that taken care of for Tom. And we also need 2 apiary managers. So, excuse me, you will coordinate with Parker Water and Sanitation, make sure we have access to the apiary. It is a locked environment, so we need to make sure the person has the keys to let people in appropriately. And let's say it's available for monthly apiary events, advise the board on any apiary needs, and maintain the hives at the apiary if needed.
Nominate Scott.
Okay.
I've already do it. I nominate Brian.
Does anybody, does all taking Scott go? If anybody would like to participate, take on that role, it's fun and working with Scott and give you a chance to do some teaching if you want. And so I threw my name out there just because my Saturdays are just packed busy. I just don't have that much time. So if there is anybody who would like to help out, it's not that much time really. And just working with Scott, so,
The apiary is, yeah, two are the Parker Road and 470 is pretty central. That is the Park. I go twice a week. Depending on the time of year. Right now we're going, Brian was supposed to go today.
you know, you slacker.
You know, during the summer, depending on how healthy it looks, it's not, I mean, and I like to go on Sunday because there's 0 people there. Drive right up to them. Hives are in great shape. They both look like they're gonna winter very well. There's low, like constant, like 0. So it's really just a function of like making sure they have enough space in the springtime to start doing what they do. One of them just be queen. You guys were there, maybe some of you were there when Pete marked the last one. The white one is a white queen, which means it's 3 years old, and he remarked it and fainted, so I'd never seen it. Oh, I just fainted. Oh my God. I went there Sunday, sure enough, and I hadn't seen him for weeks. I thought I just got shot, because I'd seen it every time I've been. And I opened up the eye to make sure it had nothing. There was a new queen, so I didn't mark her because I didn't want to faint on. I've never seen that. Little chest compression. That's a whole different thing. That's fun. I mean, it's a nice place. You can see it right there. It's kind of. There's 2 hives there now. That one. That's such an individual. Anyway. Someone wants to help? It'd be great. Give a little task, give a little code.
That would be awesome. So, alrighty. Doug, are you ready?
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
I mean, we typically do these classes on Saturdays. That's a day Brian has a hard time for a lot of reasons. Friday nights hard. Anybody opposed to doing it on Sunday? I know Sundays are kind of tricky for Brian too, but maybe a little more. No excuses. Yeah, why is this? Anyway, all right.
Okay. Doug.
So the title is not quite exactly what I'm going to talk about, but that'll be part of it. I think I entitled more my adventure in single deeps. The last fall, I went into the winter with 3 really strong, and I treated for mites. I'd done everything that I felt that I should. And as the spring came and they started getting out and about, I thought, I got bees coming in on my hives, and I can only get in them on the weekend because I leave at 6:30 in the morning. I get home at 6:30 at night, and a lot of times it's too dark or too cold. When I actually got in the hives, I had 1 weak hive and 2 totally dead hives. The dead hives probably had 50 pounds of honey in them. There were dead bees, rear ends sticking out with honey all around them. So they hadn't made it through the winter for whatever reason. And everybody was wanting bees last spring. And I called around and I was able to get 2 boxes of bees on the 29th of April. And I really wanted some honey. And so I thought, let me give this a try. And so I got my boxes of bees and I put them in single deeps. And I looked at a couple of things on the internet about how to manage single deeps for honey. And I thought, I'm going to give it a try. So I put them in on the 29th of April. And in about 3 weeks, I was ready to put a super on. And I looked and there's 2 ways you can do it. They say you just leave it in a single deep. The queen can't lay more than a single deep's worth of eggs before they hatched out and there's more room. And so then someone said, put a medium super on and it gives a little extra room. And then 3 weeks before you want to harvest your honey, make sure the queen's below the queen excluder. And just have a single bead, everything will hatch out, they'll fill it up. So I decided to try one of each to see how it went. Along the road, about the time I put my honey supers on, I got a swarm end of May. I thought this will be really interesting to see kind of how I do here. As I went along, I was looking at the ones that I've started with the boxes and watching closely. And sometime around the 1st of July or so, I found swarm cell. And it was actually in the hive that had more room. The one with the medium super on it. The one with no super on it actually never got a swarm cell the entire time. But I tracked the honey production in the one that, in the 2 that I had from the end of April, and the one that I had put a big swarm in at the end of May. And again, the swarm went in about the time I put honey supers on the other one. The 2 that had honey supers on for 3 more weeks in May, or 3 more weeks, produced 70 pounds apiece. The one that I got as a swarm the end of May, the same time I put honey supers on, I got 35 pounds from. So now I'm left with the thing, how do I overwinter a single bee in Colorado? Well, 4 or 5 years ago, I had a hive that I don't remember what the issue was, but I managed to overwinter it. But this year I was thinking, I went into last winter with double deeps. I've been running the single deep. I've got 3 things of drawn comb with honey in them left over, just sitting in my basement. So as soon as I harvested honey, I put deeps full of drawn comb and half full of honey on it, and they were able to fill that up really quickly. So in my estimation, what I got was I'm overwintering double deeps, but I had a whole year or a whole summer of production in my single deep, where all of that excess they would have used to fill up double deep is now in bottles in my attic. So I know a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people use the single deep. And I was a little nervous, a little skeptical about the whole thing. But in this situation, it ended up working out really well for me. And I think the key to it, and the key to making these okay for the long term over the winter, is I had full or deeps full of drawn comb, so I could put on, they can then fill up. And so I'm going in with hives in really good shape, except for the fact that I was talking to Scott that one of them has been offline. But that may have happened whether I did it this way or not. So I totally realized that this was a different year with the amount of rainfall and moisture. But I think just by judging from how much honey I got from the ones that I started in April versus the ones I started in May, I think I ended up way ahead on it. Whether it was this year or what I did, or both, I don't know. But an idea of something to do if you run into the situation that I thought we should. Yes.
I'm just on that. Would you outline when you harvested those?
I harvested about the second week in August.
Okay, so you ran a single bead with supers, a clean excluder.
And I had up to 4 supers on them.
Okay, so, and then once you took off your supers,
Took
you
off
took
the
off the clean
supers.
excluder and put a routine.
Correct.
With some frames that you go in at, like whole rack of frames or?
Yep, full rack of frames.
So. Makes perfect sense. And basically all summer long, there's feeding supers instead of, and then.
Yeah, so in May, it took them about 3 weeks to fill up the first one, and it probably would have taken them 3 or 4 weeks to fill up the second one. So I had 3 or 4 weeks of that production that's now in bottles, and yeah, so that worked out really well for me. Yes,
So what mini climate location are you located?
I'm east of Parker, 6,000 feet.
This is 6,000.
Yep, just about 3 miles east and a little north of Parker Main Street, Homestead Hills area, if anybody knows that area.
So now you just have the one box, the root chamber, what do you do with that second?
It's now a root chamber, it's on top. When I harvested honey, I put the second bead, full drawn comb on it. So now I have double beads.
So the title was a little deceiving.
Yeah, so that was exactly what what we talked about.
You talked about this. Over summer, it seemed.
Over summer.
Okay.
Correct.
With an idea of really maximizing harvest.
Yeah.
So you've got enough honey for the winter already?
And did you feed it in August or did you just like the?
As soon as I took off the supers, I fed for a week because they ended up with almost, they went for this huge number of bees and a full, single deep of brood to having nothing. And so I fed them, so I had some honey in the second super I put on the top, but I fed them heavily for about a week just to let them build up a little bit. So, yes.
So would you have an estimate as the weight of how much honey you have in that? You said you've got adequate honey. How much honey do you have in
there now?
Yeah, for the winter.
Full.
Yeah, basically full hive.
So that second brood box is pretty much just all honey, so it's all their food, the bees and stuff there. And
So it's got that could be
In
60
fact,
pounds.
both brood boxes have a lot of honey. So I have one that's having a problem now, but the two that are full, 80 pounds. Enough that now I'm 65, I don't want to lift them anymore.
I know what you mean.
So, any other questions? Yes,
On the honey supers you put on, were they already drunk from?
yes. Yep. They were. So an idea, if you run into that situation or you just want to try it to see how it works, it works well for me this year. So I treated for mites like normal would. I used the salic acid neutralization, and it seemed to work okay.
So to elaborate on your question, so during honey production, the harvested honey, you really don't want to use the mite treatment.
Right.
So your schedule for mite treatment, let's talk about that.
So I checked several times and the mites were low. And then as soon as I took the honey supers off, I started treating the mites. So that would have been in about the second week in August.
So, and for me, I don't treat for mites at all between May and August. But if I have a problem with mites in May, I didn't do my job. Right.
So in these, when I got the boxes, I put them in, and after I think I waited 4 or 5 days for them to be settled, and then I treated them. Treated them right there. And so we went into, the 1st of May, they had no mites. There was no brood, there was nothing. They got started to lay a few eggs, but then they got an oxalic acid. And so, so the mite count, and I checked a couple of times during the summer, was low. Anything else?
Mike, do you have a question?
Not really a question, more a situation. So, got a swarm this year. Swarm season was a little bit behind, like it was mid-July. Got on good heat, it was fully drawn out, too deep on top, but I don't have any more drawn out frames. I'd say they maybe drew out 30% of that top box. And so now I'm in this situation, I've been trying to feed them. They've now started to fill up the lower box where the brood was, and they're not really touching it. So now I'm like, do I just push them down into a single beat for winter, pack as much as I can in there? So I've got this top box that's maybe, again, 30–40% drawn out, and they filled out what's drawn out, but the other frames are still just completely bare. So I'm kind of struggling, like, what do I do this month to set them up for success?
Can I ask the question?
Yeah.
How long did you feed them? Once you got that swarm, how long did you?
I didn't feed them right away. I probably started feeding them in early August till now. So I mean, they've had food pretty much nonstop. They're just not going out of wax.
Need to ensure
But that's when they've had it and then still not drawing out those new
that
frames.
now they're not building. You can't beg them. To build homes.
Well, but I mean, they did it in August, when they had all kinds of food, they were full bore, they just never drew it out of there. So I'm either thinking take some drawn out frames from some of the stronger hives that are stored and try to put the less drawn out ones all over the edges on some of the other boxes, but like one of my hives is going to be short frames in some way, shape, or form. So yeah.
I would suggest to stagger them so that the things have one, two, or maybe two empty and then two full. They will start filling the two and then two the full.
Yeah, I for sure tried to check the board where I could, but it didn't change much. The ones that weren't drawn out, they just kind of ignored and really focused on the ones that they had on built out. So I agree. I don't think you're going to miss anything now, but
I overwintered a week hive that have a lot of food in it, 3 or 4 years ago. With a single week.
yeah,
So,
I do have drawn medians. Okay.
One thing you could do is you could take either on the meetings without a deed and use those in lieu of that meeting. And break your parcels for the spring when they're on the drop. And get them to fill, even when it's hard to drop.
Yeah. Okay.
how strong do you think this might be?
I'd say a 7 out of 10. The other two were like 9, 10, but they're in good shape for when I got the swarm, but I definitely had solid brood patterns all the way through. Now that they've slowed down, I'm just backfilling the brood and not paying much attention to the upper box. So
And the bottom line is completely full.
yeah,
You could just, you could actually just pull off like Popeye, get them all down there and candy.
yeah,
And just say, they're in, it's easier, I mean, as long as there's food there.
yeah.
And then just check it, when they're warm, just check it when there's warm days and take some of those other frames and slide them in if they're feeling.
Well, that's my problem. I'm like, maybe that's just to try a single beat. Then
Yeah,
make sure they got plenty of
I mean, so that what we understand is the cluster is not the heat off.
Right.
Cluster heats the cluster, so, if that cluster is healthy, the mites are low and everything else is good, they'll move around fine to get food, if there's plenty of food, they'll be fine. They don't care if you only have 4 frames in the top box, they're full, you put carrier boards on either side of it if you want, just leave them the way they are, they'll follow. If you really want to ensure that they have plenty of food, put a healthy candy board on top of that 1 or 2 boxes. And then, it's candy board's a funny thing. I don't know if people experience the same thing I have 3 hives sitting next to each other. One of them eats the entire candy board. The middle one eats half of it, and the third one eats none of it. They all look kind of the same, but so, but if you don't give it to them, they eat it. That's when you stress them. Yeah, it's just easy, it's so easy.
And you got a And so we had to go and run and get the second set. And I was told it takes 11 pounds to sugar to get 1 pound of wax. So I just went get some these bags and it was.
Yeah, I mean, I've always, I can't remember who told me this, but like, drawn out frames, like a charged battery. And empty frames are like draining yourself on battery, right? It's taking all the resources melt from the hive to try to draw those out. So I'm not counting on any new wax being drawn out at this point. It's more how I make the most of what I have today.
Right, no, I mean, if they're healthy and their vitamins, then they should be fine as long as it's,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what configuration.
But what about putting that, driving down the one D, putting a double screen board on your healthier ones and then just put that on top of them?
Need each other kinds.
Doing that sooner than later, and then pop them to the other initiative.
Stay tuned.
To go into that and what we're already been talking about, we're going to talk about some other overwintering type of, what's the word I want, equipment or different ideas that you could do. One thing I've done in the past is this is not man like, but I think I got it from to be or not to be. They call it a wintering inner cover. So what I do is I'll get some hamster shavings, put it on top, and so that gives that the extra warmth they need. Then they also have, you can feed them this way during the winter. I usually don't feed them this way. I'll put a shim in and put the pollen or sugar underneath that. But that's one of the ideas. I know Brian has several ideas he's bringing up here. Come on up and show us your ways.
I don't use all of this stuff, but I usually have one of every, it seems like. So here's, I'm thinking this was pizza at the time, but, one of his quilt boards, it was on a hive that I got. And so when you're doing quilt boards, who in here uses quilt boards? I don't. Okay, so who, if anyone wants to jump up here. Come on up, somebody who uses them. So you go ahead, you put this on top, you go ahead and fill it up with wood shavings, the same idea. It's absorbing the moisture, providing some insulation there because heat rises. So we want that thermal barrier. And then when Pete did this, he put in some vents on the side as well. And I guess that's for getting a little bit of cross breeze. So that if there is any moisture that's collecting up there, it's going through. Now I think I know a lot of people who have used these. I'm more of an insulation guy. I like to put this polystyrene. But anyone have any other comments on quilt boards?
Just an observation.
And you gotta speak up.
One of our highs, we see through the holes, and then we squirts to control the air, thing like this. I don't know who's used to that, but maybe for this.
Yeah.
Well, put corks in and then when it certain times we'll put one out of this ID type. So we've never had all 3 or 6 of them.
Yeah, so same sort of deal. I'll just wax paper, like Sandcastle sugar on top, right? So this goes on top of the D. This hardware cloth big enough for these get at it. And then this is quilt block, just fill it up with shavings right on top, and then inner cover, telescoping cover on top. This one, I've never used it. It's kind of handy. You can pop open like an upper entrance that way. So I've kept them on all winter around here, but I suppose if you have a stretch of warm weather, I could use the
You
left
say
one.
you're doing the face method, or you're doing sugar pads?
It's more of a candy board. So again, I'll mix a lot of water with the sugar, spread it out on wax paper, poke some holes in it. no fence, that was just sugar right across the top, but obviously these holes are pretty large, so they pour the sugar on here, it's just gonna flow through, so, yeah, same thing as what Scott said, like 60% of one candy board and the other one didn't even get touched, so. Down.
Yeah, this is what here's my feeder. I like to put, I use this, the winter feed that I get from Man Lake. I usually get a 5-gallon bucket of it. This is one that I think I picked it up, it's beer, not broke, still have the bucket. But it has the right, ratio of pollen to sugar syrup, so it's not gonna promote, brood, not that it's gonna happen during the winter, but there is a winter feed mix, and then you have one that you use in the spring if you want to promote brood production. Mine is, huh? Yeah, so here's my Italians that I've had in the past, love it. They would just go to town, and I'd fill this one up, and of course, you know, clean it next to it. But, they're what? I know, a little white. So, yeah, the Italians love this stuff. And then some of the Carnolians that I got from Kenny, they didn't like it as much. So then it's like, okay, well, what are my options? I want to go with, here's a partial candy board that I still had left. You can see that part of it was used, and part of it fell out. But once again, inner cover, turn it upside down, and we have a nice sugar. I don't know what you call it, it's sugar candy, right? Rock candy. It's candy board, that's what it is. But sugar, right? Now I know that Vance likes to go ahead, and Mike pointed this out. Vance, I think, likes to take his inner cover and then mix up sugar and with a little bit of sugar syrup, so it has.
How is this plain sugar?
Is it just plain sugar?
Just sugar.
Sugar, and then
On top of the newspaper.
on top of the newspaper, he likes to just put sugar up there.
I will say that shim,
That's what you do.
if you fill it up all the way, it gets shockingly heavy for only being 2 inches of,
Yeah.
like, if you go wall to wall, it can get real heavy, so I like thinner is better and just check it more often.
Before I used a bunch of these, I was using these and put that, and then I was taking my thinner feed and putting it into kind of patties. You know, I got my daughter and lay it out, get the rolling pan up, or rolling pin, and pat them into just patties. And I was actually using this bin, and I was just laying it across the top of the frames as well.
I was a recipient of an abandoned hive on the side of the garage and wrapped it across, and I think someone stole off the truck, like a commercial hive. It was all wrapped up and ready to go for the winter. I think we were driving it somewhere. My vision is some guy thought it was, some kids thought it was funny, got away a lot, so they stole it. And they got it back to Honda Civic and popped it open and realized. That's what I found out. Chucked it out the window and back and said, "Good." Anyway, we got a call from Debbie last fall. And we took long story short, it was just laughing all the time. That hive, they just taken your winter feed, just pushed it right down on top of all. It was, I opened it up just to make sure there was a queen in there, and it was, they'd taken a bigger than softball size piece of winter feed, like you had, it just smashed all across the top of the frame.
Yeah.
And it put on the inner cover, and it just had a 2-inch foam on top, it didn't have any cover. That was coming.
Yeah.
It was all right. That's how they did it. I mean, these guys do it for a living, so
So when I would put it across the top, and before I got this, I was using this, and I'd smash it in there. And then my preferred method is I like using styrofoam,
That's exactly what they have.
polystyrene on top. And then on those warm days, you're not supposed to do this way. In those warm days during the winter that we get when the sun shines out, and I go, what you doing? And I take a look in there, and all the bees are right up at the top where all that feed is, and they're right underneath that polystyrene, enjoying that warmth. So all their heat goes right up, and then it stops. And
Do you get moisture?
Hmm?
Do you get moisture from it?
So I think that winter feed is actually sponge.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
Nobody's pointed out, there's two things that kill your feet mostly in the winter. And it's moisture and lack of food. And moisture comes from lack of ventilation. That hole in that candy board is there, to leave a gap across the front for ventilation. A lot of people will just fill it from corner to corner, and you just knock off all your ventilation. You want to make sure you leave about an inch to get a half across the front of the hole. So that way, any air that goes up, it condensates and drip back down on it.
So I
To expand on that, Randy Oliver, he said the worst thing you can do for your bees is let them get chilled, and that's the wind coming up. So you want to make sure that you're closing your screen board at the bottom, so you can't get that wind that's just coming right up and chilling everything that way. That's a big thing. So you want to do wind blocks or you said making sure you feel that.
If they got a bottom screen board in Colorado anyways, you know, I'm with Randy Oliver is, but you put plywood in there, you got a 3/4 inch gap, you put 3/8 piece of plywood in there. They still have that 3/8 inch to get in and out, and you prevent that massive wind going up into your hive. But you gotta remember, if it's a chimney and you need ventilation, they're coming in and they're coming out, otherwise you suffocate your bees. You gotta have that ventilation, and then that hole in the candy boards there exactly for that is ventilation.
To your question about the insulation on top and, you know, worrying about raining down moisture. If you have the insulation on top, then the dew point where your humidity hits that magic number where it creates condensation will be on the sides instead of over the top of the bees. And they can utilize the water on the sides to drink, to be able to access the sugar versus it being rained down on them. So as long as you're tipping forward so it doesn't puddle and cool, then you're.
I guess the difference of styrofoam, that it's so solid versus. So, that it's so solid that there is no ventilation from the styrofoam. That was my
There
question.
isn't, and as long as you have the ventilation hole, you're in good shape. The trouble that you get with the shavings is it pulls out moisture, and wet insulation is not.
Outside.
I do.
I have in the past, at this
It's good that
particular
you,
topic.
you use, so they use the word as a drain, which means simply put.
But they keep the center of the cluster warm, there's a gap there, so there's usually the honey on.
All I can tell you is Steve's in it. I put bubble wrap around mine, just that real thin, double face bubble wrap, and it has worked perfect for me. I lost bees 5 years in a row. I started using that bubble wrap, and I get about 89%.
Is that the thing, that we need to cover up and silver out the outside? Yeah.
So bubble wrap is one way to go. These were actually side panels from when I was wrapping my hives and putting this on the side. Now, I love styrofoam also. I have some others that are cut down to the same size as a new cover. So it'll fit under the roof. But I love using these because I use them for a bunch of things when I have boxes out, like when I was harvesting and I had boxes out. I always set something on top. It keeps the yellow jackets out. It keeps the bees out. I can use it for all kinds of things. So I like having these around. If I'm in my shed and I have a stack of boxes, whatever they may be, I always put something on top. Keeps all the animals out, the moths out. stuff like that. So I think there's a bunch of uses for it. I think the other thing to your comment, which I really liked, is also remember, I always try to do a little bit of an angle, just some little shims on the side. So I like to angle it one way or another, but just that way, if you do have any moisture, it's not gonna come to the center and drop down, wet bees or dead bees. But so at least it will come down to the side. Yeah, that was the first time I'd ever heard of using the condensation for water source. Yeah, I was like, well, that makes sense. So let's see, we have that. Look what I made. Look what I made.
Are you using, many people using straw bales or been?
I just,
How high do you go, and what do you do for deep snow? Is that okay if you got a foot of snow that's around? Yes.
I do put them so they're up to the same heights as them, and I just put them on the 3 sides, I mean, I'll try to hold them. And it seems to be working the past few years.
How close?
I put it as close as I can.
I lean mine.
All right.
And then I went ahead and picked up the Home Depot contractor bags, trash bags. I actually put them over the tops of the straw bales. And then at the end, you zip tie them because it keeps the mice out. And so then I dumped them all out of the trash bags in the spring and gave them to my brother-in-law for cabin season, for the cabin. But I actually put, I bagged. Yeah.
You could already use bag and high.
That's a great idea. Why don't you do that? I'll send you a picture.
You know, but it's coming. What I live on.
Yeah. And speaking of little openings, also remember if we get snow and snow comes up over the front door, this is also the place where they can get out to go do a cleansing flight. So that's why, I mean, these are a little bit harder. It's always leave another entrance exit. That's why I always like to make sure that I don't cover these up in the winter. So I try to keep them open on the south side. That should be warmer, the warmer wind, and just so that as we start getting that snow, starts piling up, they have to get out to clean up. So another option, Kenny mentioned the bubble wrap. So this is some roofing under laminate. Went ahead and measured it this afternoon. So this is actually pre-folded. So we measured it out, and you can get rolls of this stuff. It's 36 inches, the deep is 9.5 inches. So we cut it right down the middle. So I have another one of these at home that I thought we'd use out at the club apiary, and this one we can use for raffle if anybody wants it today. So it's already pre-folded, and so you just go ahead and so you go ahead and wrap it around, and then just put some duct tape. And the times that I've used it, I've used some thumbtacks just to kind of hold it up. This will be make sure you don't close up the entrance. This should be 1 inch up from the bottom. So, and if you do have your covers, don't close up the door. So get your scissors out. Just go ahead and do a little cut so you have a doorway for them. But this is the idea, is it's collecting the heat, warming up the temperature, acting as another thermal barrier. Same thing as this, as these things, not nearly as bulky. I don't do this anymore, but when I did put, I had like one hive that was really weak, and I knew I was gonna do 2 years ago. I got these out and put them on. I go ahead and put a motorcycle strap. What is it, $10 at Home Depot for 4. And so I went ahead and like strapped it because I knew that hive was a weak hive, and I was like, oh, please make it through the winter. And so I just wrapped it in polystyrene put all this food in there, polystyrene, because what little heat they could generate, I wanted them to be able to keep it. So,
Did it work?
I knew. So we got this. So we'll go ahead and we'll put one of these out at the club, apiary. We wrap one of them. And,
So good news, I have a whole roll of that stuff that I don't want.
yeah. So that's everything. Does anybody have?
So one of our hives is an insulated hive. So the way I insulate my hives is I actually have 1-inch polystyrene and I actually just make panels and I just duct tape them on. And I know people have used that roofing felt a long time. It's just messy for me. I mean, I've done it, and you can staple hammer it on there, leave it over the winter. But if you ever want to take your stuff apart, you have to tear it off. And take it apart. So it's easier to reuse polystyrene, which I reuse, right? So as soon as the spring comes, I take it off, and put it in the garage, wait for the next fall, and tape it back on.
Store's easy.
Well, it's all, he's got, what, 2-inch there, I use 1-inch. I think the idea is you want to minimize the opportunity for crafting, you want to also, whatever, my big thing is, I don't think the bees are gonna freeze to death, if you don't do anything. What I think happens though is, they're not in cluster because it's 60 degrees out during the day, and then all of a sudden a storm comes in, and by mid-afternoon, it's 30 degrees, right? And they're like, then it's 20 and 10 degrees before the night comes. And so you just drop 50 degrees in 5 hours, which can happen in Colorado occasionally, like every day. But that's where I think my bees get in the most trouble. They don't have time to figure it out and toss it out. I think that's why there's probably not a lot of native honeybees in Colorado. It's not that they can't handle it. Which if you ever read anything, it says they can handle cold. What they can't handle is the rapid transition from 70 degrees on a really nice day to 20 degrees at night. So by wrapping them, but either tarpaulin, roofing felt, or anything, my buddy has, they're like koozies, they're like made out of plastic with insulation in them that he bought from the bee. He just slides it on top of his trash bag with insulation. All that stuff just helps with the transition. So if it goes from 70 to 20 in 5 hours within the hive, it goes from 70 to 20 in 9 hours. It's a little slow.
Kenny, you gotta talk loud though.
David used his, one of his hives, he used the olive, we went all the way down to the ground up, he didn't have to worry about the wind branch. So, I know yeah.
And then we use the little ones. Instead of duct tape.
Zip ties or spongy
Country words, we use bungee
That's even better.
So we do, but we're on television.
Yeah, the bungee cords work great.
Yeah.
And also, if you do want to do any polystyrene, the ones that I normally use, I use the one that has the foil on one side, and I always leave that foil on the B side, so they can't eat it or do anything with it.
When are you doing this? I do it when I feel like it's too big. The temperature is 60 and 12 to 20 degrees, and or it has days where I'm being out to 20 degrees.
Like it's down too early or?
Well, I mean, I don't think that, you leave it on all summer, I don't think it hurts anything to have a little extra insulation. It's just, there's a point when I'm not gonna get in the mind of the bottom roof box. Right, like, okay, whatever happens at this point, it happens. So I'm still checking the bottom roof box to make sure I have enough storage. We're still, I'm going from 1 to 1 to 2. So probably not until mid-November, when I know there's no more brood in this thing. I'm gonna treat it one more time, make sure there's no mites. And then I'll throw these on.
It's the end of the beekeeping season. That's the
Yeah.
last season. When you're done.
And we're seeing temperatures in the low 30s or even 20s at times. In August.
Yeah.
I can't even.
Start thinking about it at the end of October, Halloween, and see how far that is, watch the weather. So.
Yeah, it really comes down to when I'm done looking at the people. I feel like they're done.
Yeah.
I'll go around.
Okay, any other comments anyone wants to make about wintering? No?
I get a question. You put the phone in the bottom side.
I have. I wrote it down. I have a little, yard sign plastic stuff, corrugated plastic.
Is that?
And it's really all you're trying to do is print fast. I really don't believe the hive, the bees don't heat up the hive. Bees heat up the cluster. So as long as there's no drafts, we talked about that a little earlier, as long as there's no huge amounts of temperature change rushing by them, the cluster stays warm. I mean, the research says that if you measure the ambient temperature an inch and a half away from the cluster, it's the same as outside. And they can't peak for a while. So, like, I just slide down to the bottom of the boards here and grab it. And I don't go down all the way to the ground, which I might. I go all the way down to the bottom of it. So I basically close off every seal, all of it broken like I close off every joint, with the exception of the opening on the top, and I've closed off most of the front entrance. They probably have 2 inches at most in the front entrance.
Yeah, the porch comes down. So
Yeah.
styrofoam,
Yeah, the porch comes down right to the bottom, at the top of the
Still
bottom.
has a gap.
Right.
But it was kind of like
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, but you can be, it certainly wouldn't hurt to finish your highlight and slide a piece of polystyrene into the hive. And keep it going. It's always you're with your 4th and 5th hand.
There is one other thing, and I'll send it out, it's a little hard to explain, but it's called a Krabby Patty. So basically, you take your sugar patty, they put some shims in it, and then inside of that, you put pollen, a pollen patty or a winter patty. So that's another thing to do, and I'll put the recipe and stuff out there. It's pretty cool doing that. I haven't done it yet, but I keep saying, I'm going to do that this year. So maybe I will do it this year. Let's see, is there anything else? We are running pretty quick this evening. Let's see, let's do our cred cutter confessions. Does anyone have a story they want to share, something embarrassing that happened to them they want to share? Oh, come on up.
Anybody here watch the TV show The Pizza? Oh, yeah.
I've seen it once or twice.
There was an episode where he hired a new guy, no experience. And the first time he had to be flying in front of his mask, he freaked out. He thought it was inside, it's kind of hard to focus on where the heck the bees are when they're in front of you. Just last weekend, my wife and I were taking a week hive and merging it with another hive, getting ready for the winter, obviously. And we also had been pulling some honey. We had a lot of pissed off bees flying around us. And I'm watching this bee flying in front of my nose. And I'm trying to focus on it a little bit. And I'm thinking of that stupid show. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be the pizza guy. I started freaking out as I got a bee in my nest. The son of a bitch, the zipper on the top of my hood. So, about 8 inches. I had easily a couple of dozen bees inside my hood. All of a sudden, I started going, oh shit. I started running away from the hive, trying to get my damn jacket off. I had a fortunate ball cap. So they were stinging that. Oh, God. But Maria's over at the high school. What the hell? Settle down. What's going on? Leon looked at it. He took the fucking jacket. The lesson for me was always check your damn equipment before you go to hive. It took about 2 dozen stinks to get that through my head. You must have if I was listening to my wife, you know, I'd have to go settle down.
Yeah, these things. Yeah, you rock and roll. Very little.
All right, are people interested in this? We haven't sent out raffle tickets yet. If you are, we'll get the raffle tickets out and raffle off. Anyone who wants the, what are we calling it again? I'm sorry. Paper.
The roofing.
Roofing material.
Yeah.
Everyone wants the ticket?
No, I have a question. So, last time I got stung when I was doing my treatment, I got stung down here on the. And that didn't hurt, but it all went up to my face. Does that, or am I now living?
It's a different.
Yeah, we haven't asked one.
That's a difference, it's going to be different than where the sting was.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay, that's no longer a local reaction. Takes Benadryl.
Yeah, I did. You know, it took about 6 days for it to go.
Oh, wow. Make sure it's serious.
What happened to me is that I was bending over, and so you don't think your mask is touching your face when you're
Oh, I
bending
know,
over.
right?
I got a bee that hit me
Oh,
right here in the lip.
Been on a lip.
So it's like, my lip was like this, like, and the next day it was flying, I think, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it went down, but yeah.
So,
Let's see.
The curious question is, what happens next?
Mhm.
Yeah, first time?
Yeah.
You've been stung many times?
Yeah,
And you have your estrogen?
yeah.
And
So
so now we use you. It's like,
Oh,
it's
okay.
Yeah.
get better or worse. Right. It's definitely worth a conversation with maybe an allergist.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, just one of the things to watch.
Yeah.
You know, if it's, because it said, sometimes the next thing could be really bad, or next time it could be, it's still just here.
We have a friend, actually, who lost that, we're beekeepers. And after all the time with bees, well, I never had a problem. And she got stung and had kind of a reaction. Well, then they had a really hot hive and she got stung several times. Ended up in the emergency room in the hospital for like 5 days. Wow. And now it's completely alerted to them without mowing the lawn and stepped on the bee, back, making yard. So she's going in for those treatments. Right. It's stuff that she goes in once a month. And she's been doing it for almost 2 years now. And she's getting better, but I mean, she went from no problems to almost dying.
Yeah, that's what
And it
I
happened.
never.
Yeah.
I've been stung.
No, exactly.
Oh, just one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just a buildup, so, yeah, but just as such, like an allergist, people watch on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have it?
Huh?
Do we have a minute? Ask some questions. Does, are y'all starting to think about bears? Are there any people that are outside of the urban area and starting to do bear fence?
Starting to, I lost 9 hives to bears this year.
You what?
I lost 9 hives to bears.
Yeah, so
Because the fence doesn't work. It's in the garage.
So when we're thinking about winterizing, I have a whole electric fence setup that I got from the Department of Wildlife because I had a bear attack that took out 7 hives a couple of years ago. And it turns out the Department of Wildlife will give you a solar charger and a whole bunch of stuff. The fencing, the poles, because in return for you not filing a claim.
Only if you have 4 hives or more.
Yeah, you have to be, it's commercial.
Varies from county to county.
Does it? And so right now I moved my bee yard. And so I need to go take down my old bear setup and I'm getting ready to move it. And then I was pricing out another solar charger, the fence energizer at Murdoch's. It's like 140, 130, right around there. So, it's something to think about. I've been through one bear attack and they took out 7 hives and I was mad and it was a mess. And I had to go in and pick up, I mean, I found the queens on the ground and it was painful. They all died.
What time of the year was it?
November.
November.
Yeah, early November, late October. Mike, you got something?
Well, what I'll say is if they get into your hives and get food, the fence is a limited help. So my hives had a fence, they were all strapped down. The bear got through, knocked the hives over, but didn't actually get inside because they were all strapped to like a stand and it just kind of tipped over. So the bears never come back. But I've heard that if they get in once and they get food, they get the, so they actually, the brood is usually what they're after more than honey because their protein is trying to bulk up or whatever. But if they get a taste of it,
Then you're done.
even a fence is tough.
Yeah. And I think, I had a couple that were strapped down. I had them on 2x6s, and so I could put 2 hives on one setup, and they were all strapped down with motorcycle straps, and that did save me as well. So a part of your winterizing is even if you don't have a fancy stand, just strap the whole thing shut.
Yeah.
And we
My,
didn't
I
even
had
mention.
my flow over before because they weren't strapped, so it could go everything.
We
But I
had
had-
some overstrapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've had both. The one time I didn't strap it, I was new beekeeper, and then getting in the trade to pick up bees and everything else. And then after that, I strapped it, but it wasn't tips over, like you said. They're still all together, so it much easier, so definitely strapped.
So everybody should have that on their list.
A couple ideas, we had a neighbor that had 6 hives that got attacked or ransacked. And there's a place up in Denver, I think it's called Boundary Fencing. And so they sell like, dog kennels. So like, we ended up getting one that's 6 feet tall, it's like a big cube. And then just putting hardware cloth on the outside and then, like rebar stakes around the can't be pushed over. But we've, got another friend up in Alaska that keeps bees, and they'll use tack strips. So they take like a 2x6 board, pound, 1,000 nails into those facing up around the perimeter, and then, paint them orange or whatever. Very well, so kids don't step on it. But, the bear step on that. These are rackets.
Yeah, that's the dog kennel is what Vance Hayes used. That's his apiary.
I just looked, it was October 11th last year, so.
Yeah.
You ready?
So I'm really glad you said that. So we should all at least have that on checklist. Strap your hive. That's easy. David,
So you know what they call a bunch of bears with no ears?
what's that?
You know what they call a bunch of bears with no ears?
What's that?
It's just a bunch of bees.
All right, with that.
Let's sell that one again. Yeah.
So you can use the traditional fence posts. And then at Murdoch's is just one place, Big R's another place. You can get the fence post, plastic things that hook onto a regular fence post. Insulators, and it's like, I have cattle pens on mine with one on top. But I'd suggest if you're gonna do it, do 3 or 4. That's my guess.
And you might need more than one grounding rod or soil sucks here and you can't get them very deep in.
Yeah.
There's no moisture in the soil, so you might need a couple of different grounding rods to get all the way around your apiary.
So it's, the whole setup is 250 maybe, it's my guess, with the grounding rod about this big. And then you hook the ground up to your charger, and then the charger has a solar panel, little battery, and you can hear it popping every couple seconds. There's one line that goes out and then connects to the wires that are going around. So,
Also ground.
and then some people will go ahead and put a gate in there so you can get to it, and then you can get these little hooks that on the end of your hot wire, and you put a little loop on one side, it's spring loaded, and that way you can open it up and then allow yourself to open the gate. We also learned, just turn the charger off, it's much easier to go.
Well, there's a couple of things I learned playing with the Department of Wildlife chargers. The yard that got 7 of the 9 hives was in a bit of shade. There wasn't enough sun there to charge the solar charger, or enough hours of sun, because it was establishing in some pine trees along the known bear route. And another thing we have learned is set the hot wires lower. When the Department of Wildlife gives it to you, they'll have 4-inch by 4-inch fencing that goes around it that you can attach on your T-posts with a variety of different ways. I choose to use the insulators that are standoff of a T-post, so it's easier. But they also have barbed wire that they'll give you, so you'll run a strand of 2 of barbed wire down low, so that it doesn't ground out on the grass as it grows around, and then 2, usually 3 or 4 strands of the hot wire or the hot wire fence, and then they give you 3 to 5 different of the handles that you can open, the spring-loaded handles to open and close it, and they'll give you 2 ground wires or 2 grounding rods also, and they'll expect you to put it inside of an old box or something to weatherproof it. But just make sure you get enough of the charge, because if that bear gets through the first time,
If you Google it, there's a lot of pictures of honeybee, bee yard, bear fence.
Yeah, that's what I was doing, and that's what I was wondering, if it's using straight wire or a saw, and then you would take it.
Razor wire. Or
Is that
black wire.
like?
That's crazy. But it's barbed wire.
Yeah, most of mine I just use the straight wire because it's easier to string, and much less. Yeah, I'll just use the spool, what is it, 90s or whatever wire, and run it around and make it so it all connects. The one that has the more intricate, tends to run out on the grass, and then you lose your zap because it's hitting the grass or the scrub oak or whatever. So, but if you get it low enough, then you'll also nail your squirrels and your stumps too.
Yeah.
One thing I had, since I've been hit a couple of years ago, there's 2 types of beekeepers. I've said before, those who've been hit by a bear and those who don't know they have a bear problem. I didn't think I had, only 5 years, and all of a sudden, mom bear and cub. That's a good reason to have that wire down low, because cubs can fall underneath. He tried it again and got it on the nose, so he didn't come back. But the other thing is that if you set it up right, it's no problem. I mean, the ranchers have been using them for decades. So once you get it set up right, you can set it, forget it. It'll keep going. And with all this construction, bears are running out of habitats, so they're going to come around. We have a trash bear that comes around, knows exactly whose house you can get. And as long as you don't have your trash out, you won't come around the backyard. So good luck on that one.
The poultry netting that they have, that's the step-in poultry netting, has been fine. I've got a couple places that just have 1 or 2 hives. And that's been fine to go spotting. If we're just using something small and that.
Well, yeah, we started out with one and then surprise, we need
Right.
to split it.
Right, so El Paso County will give you one if you are, anybody. Douglas County said that you have to have
There's
5 items and you have to be, intending to make some money or at least break even with some sort of business before they'll give it to you, so. There's nuance. For some of it. Yeah.
Oh, one more thing I forgot to say, look on YouTube for bears and beavers. And some of those videos, you'd be surprised how long a bear will sit like, trying to figure out how to do it. You can just see that clock going 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. They will sit there and still figure out how to do it. So it's amazing what they'll do.
Where are the hives that have the bears? Like where,
I'm in Castle.
you're in Castle Rock? Where's your,
down the street, down by Ponderosa.
okay, I think you're.
I had one in my yard in Monument, on Monument Hill, and one in Larson.
About 2 years ago, we had Vance Hayes, we were having a board meeting. And he was like, hey, look out behind me, and he opened up the curtains. And there was a bear jumping through, he's right at the base of Castle Rock. But at a board meeting, we were watching the bear in his backyard.
All right, so we have got you. We got the flavors. All right. So we have our roofing material, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and then we have the happy tray. Who donated this? Thank you. Oh, thank you. And then we also have, honey jar. Did you also devote this, Tim? Thank you very much, Tim. All right, so. We have, 2082. Does anybody have 2082? Does everybody have the raffle tickets out? There, come on up. Oh, you got your ticket. All right,
I don't have that number either.
okay.
Great.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
Anything you would like. All righty, our next number is 2094. Come on. Perfect. All righty, and then we have 2086. Alrighty, guys, I think we still have plenty of food in our world famous potluck, so help yourself to that. But unless anyone else has their anything, I think we're done for tonight.
Right,
Thank you. Our next meeting is on November 1st, and we're gonna be talking about the life cycle of a robot.
So exactly
Huh?
and also Dr. Rios.
Life cycle?
Well, yeah,